Hi, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Let's talk about boxing gloves today and why you need two pairs. You're going to need a dedicated set of sparring gloves and a dedicated set of bag gloves. So what's the difference? They're both 12-ounce boxing gloves, but check this out. Bag gloves. Okay, this is an old set of Fairtex 12-ounce boxing gloves. Beautiful boxing glove. I've loved these, used them for a long time. A good friend of mine gave me these about 6 years ago, so they've got a lot of sentimental value. But look at this. After 6 years of use, well, the padding has deformed, it's compressed. These are now packed gloves. Look at that. So on impact, if I put a little squeeze on it, now there is no space, it's paper thin. So you'll be feeling my knuckles through the leather. Okay? Whereas these ones, I squeeze, same amount of pressure, notice it doesn't deform. So we have a much wider surface area here, you won't be feeling the knuckles through the leather. Okay? So these are much, much safer to spar with than these. That's why I use these only for bag gloves and these for sparring. Over time, the more you use gloves, the more they're going to get packed, the more the foam inside will compress, and the more dangerous they will be to your training partners to spar with. Now, old gloves have two problems. One, cleanliness, hygiene. So you got to clean them out, disinfect them. Okay? And that's easy enough to take care of, just clean them, disinfect them. A lot of solutions for that. But the second one is getting packed. Okay? So I keep my gloves on a rotation. The old ones I move into the bag glove bin, and the new ones I'll use for sparring. Okay? So when these ones get old, those ones will go into the bag glove bin as well. Now, take a look at these. This is a pair of Everlast bag gloves. They are very thin. There's zero padding on these. No padding at all. So this is to protect your hands. Okay? It's to allow you to punch a little more recklessly without skinning up your knuckles. Instead, it'll skin up the bag glove. This one's been used quite a bit. Okay? Now you don't want to spar with those because again, you'll be feeling the knuckles, the bones right through them. This is just for the bag. Now, make no mistake, gloves are a weapon. Boxing gloves were first introduced, I believe it was in the year 1912. Because before that, boxing matches were a bare knuckle event. And a lot of people are excited about this new bare knuckle boxing show that's coming out. You can watch some of their events on YouTube. And it's an interesting change of pace. But the thing is, bare knuckle boxing, especially long boxing fights, are boring. Because, man, if you make your career off bare knuckle boxing, you have to be extremely careful about how, when, and why you throw your punches. Because you might break your hands if you get reckless. So if you watch those old-timey boxers, guys like Jack Johnson, okay, guys who came from the bare knuckle tradition. Now there aren't any bare knuckle boxing matches from the early 1900s on film that I know of. But you can see some of these guys who came from that tradition after they introduced the gloves. Now the first boxing gloves were very thin. They were just tight leather around the hand, very similar to modern bag gloves like this. So the idea was not to protect the other guy at all. It wasn't to increase the surface area on the glove. It was simply to protect the hands of the fighters, because promoters were getting sick and tired of boring fights. They wanted to see these guys throw some leather. They wanted to see some knockouts. And when fighters are being really, really careful, you have to be a really die-hard fan of the sport to appreciate that. To the average person, it's boring watching two guys be careful. Like I said, the glove is a weapon. If I put this thing on, let me aim this camera down at, got some concrete right here with, what is it, tile over the top, and I can punch that with my bare hand, but only so hard. If I punch it too hard, it's going to break my hand. But if I put a glove on, even this, bag glove that's packed at the end, look what I can do. I can put my whole body weight into it. Now I can throw with some bad intentions. Okay? So, if you put a packed glove on, spar with bad intentions, you're gonna hurt people. You guys remember Charlie Zelenoff? If you're not familiar with that guy, Charlie Z, this crazy dude who would go around and go to these gyms and tell people he wanted to do some light sparring with them. And he would bring 2 sets of gloves, one which was totally packed with the padding gone, and the other very well padded gloves which he would give to his opponents. And they would go in there under the pretense that they were going to do some light friendly sparring, and then he would proceed to try to knock them out. Yeah. So don't be the next Charlie Z and spar with packed gloves, guys. Keep your gloves on a rotation. So when they get old, put them in the old glove bin, use them for bag gloves, nothing else. Get some brand new gloves for sparring. All right. Now this is a set of leather gloves, genuine leather, as is this. You can see the Fairtex ones are old and they're cracked. And this is artificial leather. Artificial leather doesn't last nearly as long as leather when kept under good conditions. Okay? But it can be really tempting if the leather looks nice on the outside to think, oh, my gloves are still good. You gotta feel it though. Is it packed or is it not? And just a side-by-side comparison of a brand new glove versus a packed glove when I squeeze. Massive, massive difference. Okay? So keep yourself safe, keep your training partner safe. Thank you for watching. Now get out there and train.